My wife told me she's pregnant, but I know I can't be the dad because I'm sterile. I went along with it to avoid a fight. We got married 2 years ago after dating for 3. She really wanted kids, so we started trying a year ago. It was tough, and I got tested because I was struggling with my mental health. Turns out, I can't have kids. I was crushed. I wanted to tell my wife, but I was scared of how she'd react because she'd been mean to me before. 4 days after I found out, she surprised me with the news that she's pregnant. I pretended to be happy, but I was shocked. I got tested again the next day, and it confirmed I'm still sterile. That meant she must be cheating because she needed expensive medical help to conceive. I didn't know what to do. She was planning a big party to announce the pregnancy, and I couldn't let on that I knew. I kept it all to myself because it was too personal and awkward to talk about. I didn't even tell my family. I didn't confront her because I wanted to know who the real dad was. I found out at the party when I saw her with a coworker. My wife also invited our neighbor, a 27-year-old model who lives across the street. He's really good looking and trying to make it big in modeling. He moved here to be closer to the city, staying with his aunt who owns the house. My wife has always liked him, cooking for him and his aunt when they first moved in. He's visited us for dinner, and he and my wife get along well because they both love literature. I trusted them both, but on the day of our party, I noticed a change. When he arrived, my wife seemed extra happy and hugged him longer than anyone else. It felt like something was going on between them, but I needed proof. So I pretended to go to the bathroom but sneaked into our bedroom to check my wife's laptop. I had tried checking her phone earlier but found nothing. She's usually busy on her laptop, making it hard for me to snoop. Whenever I asked what she was doing on her laptop, she'd say she was working on her novel, which I respected. I thought she was really writing one. But now, I suspected it was just an excuse to keep me from seeing what she was really up to. Luckily, her laptop wasn't locked, so I easily found another email account. After searching through the emails, I found messages between her and her neighbor where they confessed their love for each other. In the recent ones, she told him she was pregnant, which upset him, but she didn't want to let him go. The worst email was her telling him she planned to divorce me after the baby was born. She wanted alimony and child support from me so she could leave with him and live happily ever after. I was sickened by what I read. Every time I thought about that email, I pushed aside my feelings and focused on my plan. I quickly took pictures of it on my phone, shut down the laptop, and put it back where I found it. I was less upset about her cheating and more disgusted by her plan. Cheating was bad enough, but trying to trick me into having a baby so she could leave with her boyfriend was beyond messed up. She acted so happy, but inside, I was seething. So I decided to play along and wait for the right moment to confront her. For 9 months, I pretended to be the perfect husband and dad to be. It was hard knowing she was lying, but it fueled my determination. I went to every doctor's appointment, made sure she took her vitamins, and played my part flawlessly. Finally, a few days ago, she went into labor. I was nervous, but I put that aside and took her to the hospital. I hadn't called my parents because I didn't want any drama. While we waited for her parents to arrive, I dropped the bomb. I told her I was going to call our neighbor to be there for her. She was surprised and tried to refuse, but I showed her the proof of my sterility and the divorce papers. Since I had filed for divorce a few days before her due date, I made sure to have the papers with me on the big day. As I explained everything to her, she looked confused until I showed her the emails I found. Finally, she realized what was happening. I left her speechless and walked out, my heart pounding. I thought I might need to stay in the hospital, but I got out of there as soon as her family arrived. I turned off my phone and drove to a motel I had prepared beforehand. I spent the day trying to distract myself and finally went to sleep feeling relieved that it was all over. The next morning, I turned on my phone to find a flood of messages from my wife and neighbor, which I ignored. However, I did read texts from my parents and brother. It seemed my wife had contacted them when she couldn't reach me, so I called my parents and arranged to meet them. When I explained everything to them, they were shocked but didn't say much. They just hoped for the best. My wife accused me of ruining her first-time mother experience, but my family remained calm. It's been a few days, and while my family hasn't said much, my wife keeps trying to reach out to me. Since I left, I haven't answered any of my wife's calls or texts. Even my neighbor texted me a few hours ago saying my wife was really upset and that we should put our differences aside for her sake. He suggested we try to sort things out for her, claiming my wife started to fall back in love with me during her pregnancy, which surprised them both. He thought we should give our marriage a second chance. I called BS on that. If she was falling for me again, why was he still in the picture? I can't believe they think I'm that stupid. My wife is upset, but there's nothing I can do about it. She's mostly angry that I knew everything from the beginning but chose to stay with her and go through this whole act. She accuses me of lying to her by staying throughout her pregnancy and misleading her, even though I knew the baby wasn't mine and she was cheating with our neighbor. It's been nearly a week since the baby was born, and I've been staying in a hotel room. I haven't visited my wife, nor do I plan to. She's still texting and calling me, but I've made it clear that I'm not interested in speaking to her or hearing her out. I haven't blocked her yet, but I have blocked my neighbor, who kept texting me, reminding me that my wife still hopes for reconciliation. I'm certain the only reason he's still with her and trying to get me to forgive her is so she can get something out of the divorce settlement and alimony, since both of them are basically unemployed. My wife was a stay-at-home spouse, which I appreciated and respected, but she was also cheating on me behind my back, which is unforgivable. Before anyone criticizes me, I want to clarify that I didn't suggest she quit her job after marriage. In fact, I was supportive when we were dating and she was working. She chose to quit to take care of our home, and I didn't oppose it since it was her decision and I earned enough to support us. I'm pretty confident my lawyer will be able to get me out of paying alimony once we prove she was cheating, which should be easy. As for my neighbor, he's still struggling to find well-paying modeling gigs. Handling his own expenses, my wife's expenses, and a baby will be nearly impossible for them, even with their combined money. Good luck to them. I'm just grateful I'm out of this mess and won't have to give them anything, not even my attention. I hope my wife realizes this and doesn't waste more of my time by contesting the divorce. I'm prepared for that possibility, though given her lack of foresight. I still have the pictures of the emails from her secret account saved on my phone and backed up on my laptop. Even if she deletes her account, she can't erase the evidence I have. Worst case, I'll pay the alimony, but at least I won't have to be with her. She should consider herself lucky that I'm giving her time to vacate our house on her own, instead of forcibly evicting her. Since the house is in my name, I'm hoping for the best and that this will all blow over soon. Update 2. I was right. My wife is an idiot and has decided to negotiate since she wasn't happy with the settlement I offered, which was basically just the amount she spent during our marriage. Even that felt generous to me. I don't understand what miracle she thinks will happen, but whatever, good for her. She texted me yesterday saying she had vacated the house. I hoped she moved in with her parents, but she just moved across the street to our neighbor's house. Now, I'll have to see her and her boyfriend every day. I considered going back to a hotel but decided against it since this is my house and I have every right to live here. I wondered why she didn't go to her parents, considering living with our neighbor would hurt her divorce case. While scrolling through unread messages, I found one from her father. He apologized for her actions, expressed his disapproval, and mentioned that he cut her off after she said she wanted to contest the divorce. His message meant a lot to me and validated my feelings. Nothing my wife does makes sense, as everything will backfire. Either she's really stupid or has some twisted tricks up her sleeve. I hope it's not the latter, but I wouldn't put it past her. This living arrangement will lead to complications, and I'm sure they'll try to make me uncomfortable or jealous. However, I'm determined not to let them get under my skin or provoke me, as they'll definitely use that against me. Update 3. It's been a month since the negotiations for my divorce settlement began, and so far, things are going pretty badly for my wife. I've been able to prove that she had been cheating on me, and she made my job easier by moving in with the guy I accused her of cheating with. There was no question about the validity of my claims. She tried to make false accusations that I was an alcoholic, which was why I was sterile, and that I became cruel and bitter towards her when we were trying to conceive. However, this was easily disproved since everyone knew I quit drinking last year when we decided to start trying for a baby and hadn't touched alcohol since. I don't know why she thought that would work. It was pretty stupid on her part. I guess she was just grasping at straws since her initial plan had failed miserably. Now, she was too busy being a mother to be a scheming mastermind, and her baby daddy was too stupid to help. By now, both of us were well aware that her chances of walking away with any alimony were very slim. She must have told her boyfriend this because a few days ago she was quite unceremoniously kicked out of his house with her baby. I heard a lot of screaming and shouting from their house, and within minutes, I saw my wife and her son being pushed out while the father screamed absolutely disgusting things about her and called her every name in the book. I watched all this from my living room, and seeing him shove my wife out while she was carrying the baby, I rushed out to help. Despite our enmity, I couldn't let an innocent baby suffer for something that wasn't his fault. By the time I reached the doorstep, he had already slammed the door shut, leaving my wife and her son sobbing. I carried the baby and grabbed my wife's hand to lead them back to my house. I then called my father-in-law to take her home. Within an hour, he showed up and took her away, thanking me for what I had done. During that hour, my wife was crying like a baby herself, so I had to calm both her and the child. I wanted to call the cops, but she persuaded me to let it go since she didn't want more trouble. She kept apologizing for everything, saying she was so desperate to be with the one she loved that she lost all her self-respect and morals and was truly sorry about all of it. She told me she'll accept whatever happens and isn't going to negotiate anymore so the divorce is finalized faster. I guess that's one good thing. I hope she decides to press charges eventually on this guy though and heals herself as well. At least I did whatever I could and was a decent person. I don't regret anything. As the days have passed, I've had time to reflect on everything that has happened. Despite the betrayal and the emotional turmoil, I feel a sense of relief knowing that the truth has come out and justice is being served. My wife's admission and willingness to expedite the divorce process mean that I can finally start to move on with my life. I've also realized that this entire experience has taught me valuable lessons about trust, resilience, and self-worth. While the situation was far from ideal, it has made me stronger and more aware of what I deserve in a relationship. I'm grateful for the support of my family and friends who have stood by me through this challenging time. Looking ahead, I plan to focus on rebuilding my life and finding happiness on my own terms. I won't let this experience define me or dictate my future. Instead, I'll use it as a stepping stone to become a better person and to create a brighter future for myself.